The human brain is naturally hardwired to prioritize structural balance over offensive output. The absolute moment, heavy kinetic energy enters its defensive frame. Most strikers mistakenly believe that throwing faster or throwing higher volume is the final answer to breaking down a high defensive guard. In reality, speed only triggers a tighter neurological flinch response, making their defensive shell much more compact and difficult to penetrate. To bypass these natural guard reflexes completely, you must stop hitting at the shell and start feeding structural pressure into alignment. This is the precise point where striking transcends simple impact and truly becomes a matter of highly strategic, applied structural physics. You are not trying to punch around their arms. You are using your strikes to directly manipulate their central nervous system. When you throw a standard combination at a tight guard, the opponent seamlessly absorbs the impact using their natural muscle elasticity. Their brain instantly registers the incoming impact, recognizes the threat, and immediately reinforces the strength of their tight defensive shell. This represents a completely standard, highly predictable biomechanical feedback loop that occurs inside every single untrained defensive reaction on mats. The fatal mistake you are likely making right now is treating their guard like a physical wall you must chip away. Instead, you must consciously treat their guard like a mechanical lever connected directly to their primary physical center of gravity asset. Kinetic pressure is the direct application of sustained, penetrating force that lingers longer than a traditional, snapping, or high-speed strike. By extending the duration of this force transfer by mere milliseconds, you force their nervous system to completely shift defensive states. They drop from a dynamic defensive state, where they slip or counter, into a deeply restricted, highly static, load-bearing physical state. When their brain perceives that their balance is compromised by this lingering mass, their legs will instantly stiffen to anchor structure. Their arms will automatically rigidify to frame against the incoming pressure, completely hijacking their natural and automatic guard reflex system. They are no longer actively defending against your next strike. They are desperately defending against falling over onto the canvas floor. This immediate reaction creates a critical neurological delay because their processing power is entirely consumed by absolute structural preservation mechanics. Most fighters misunderstand this concept entirely, because they are heavily conditioned in the gym to train purely for speed and snap. Snap causes superficial damage and scores points, but it also allows the opponent's structure to reset immediately right after impact. Kinetic pressure completely denies that structural reset, keeping them buried under the heavy water of their own intense defensive reactions. You are essentially using the physical weight of your own strikes to permanently pin their feet to the canvas floor today. This locks their upper body in a state of panicked rigidity, allowing you to easily construct your trap inside the pocket. Let us look at exactly how you physically construct this trap in the pocket, breaking down the exact application mechanics. You are facing an opponent who defaults to a tight, high guard the moment you step into critical exchange range. They are shelling up, elbows tucked tight to their ribs, chin buried deep behind their collarbones, waiting for your combination finish. They want to fire their predetermined counter, but you initiate not with a snapping jab, but a heavy driving post jab instead. Alternatively, use a stiff, penetrating lead hook designed to crash directly into the absolute center of their defensive forearm placement. You do not pull your hand back instantly upon impact. Instead, you leave your physical weight resting heavily on guard. Step slightly outside their lead foot to establish a dominant off-center angle that completely compromises their ability to track your movement. Your weight shifts forward, driving through the ball of your rear leg, transferring your body mass directly through your lat. The force travels through your shoulder and directly into their forearms, physically connecting you to their internal skeletal frame structure. From this deeply connected state, you operate entirely on scenario logic based on how they respond to your applied pressure. If the opponent tries to push back aggressively against this pressure to clear vision, you respond by instantly dropping weight. Slip your heavy lead hand into a controlling underhook or bicep frame, then drive your rear hand straight through center line. Their pushing reaction creates a newly opened center line that your rear hand punch can exploit with absolute devastating authority. If, however, they choose to absorb the kinetic pressure by leaning back heavily on their rear leg to weather storm, their front foot becomes dangerously light, and their ability to pivot or generate rotational power completely disappears from the exchange. You must be deeply attuned to this specific feeling, reading the weight shift through tactile feedback in your gloves. The moment you feel their structure tilt backward and base compromise, seamlessly slide your pressure right off their guard. Pull their frame slightly forward to catastrophically disrupt their newly established, highly precarious balance inside this close striking range. Then fold a heavy, sinking liver shot or a chopping inside leg kick into the violently exposed side of body. Timing and tactile sensitivity here are absolutely non-negotiable if you want to execute this high-level manipulation successfully against elites. You are no longer waiting to see what they do visually. You are reading structural pressure feedback through forearms. If your applied pressure is too light, they will simply ignore it, maintain their base, and counter over your arm. If your pressure is too heavy and you carelessly commit your center past your lead knee, they will expertly slip. You will fall forward into a dominant clinch or eat a devastating counter uppercut on your way down to canvas. Your own structure must remain completely impeccable throughout this entire sequence to prevent throwing yourself completely off balance. Keep your chin firmly tucked behind your own lead shoulder, knees slightly bent to act as highly responsive shock absorbers. Maintain a base wide enough to absorb any sudden, chaotic shifts in momentum that occur during these high-pressure pocket exchanges. The most common failure point in this application is a profound, amateurish lack of patience during the connection phase. Fighters feel the opponent's guard stiffen under the pressure and immediately panic, completely reverting to their old striking habits. They try to flurry around the tight guard with fast, arm-punching combinations, completely losing the kinetic connection they established. You must trust the pressure completely. You are literally blinding them with the sheer mass of your positioning and weight. When you press heavily into their defensive shell, you force their own hands into their eyes, restricting field of vision. This forces them to rely entirely on panicked tactile feedback, allowing you to completely control the narrative of pocket exchanges. You dictate exactly when they brace, when they push, and when they expose their vital targets to your secondary weapons. You are treating their arms not as protective shields, but as steering wheels to move their torso into your strikes. Here is where most people stop, but here is the advanced layer that separates master martial artists from standard gym competitors. Once you deeply understand how to force the opponent into a static load-bearing state, introduce asynchronous pressure release concepts. This is where the application of kinetic pressure evolves from mere physical manipulation into a complete neurological short circuit. When you drive heavy, sustained force into their guard, defensive muscles engage in an intense, draining isometric contraction sequence. They must do this simply to hold their skeletal frame together against your incoming weight and heavy forward body mass. Their brain maps this required level of muscular resistance and deeply commits to it to prevent structure from collapsing inward. Instead of trying to hit around the guard once it inevitably stiffens, abruptly remove the applied pressure entirely from frame. Simultaneously, drastically change your elevation and angle, leaving their committed muscular tension with absolutely nothing left to push against. Their own massive forward resistance will cause them to violently pitch forward, stumbling helplessly into empty space you vacated. Their tight guard will naturally and involuntarily flare wide open as their brain desperately attempts to catch their balance. This is the true bypass. You have not punched through their guard using brute force or uncalculated physical athletic power. You have tricking their central nervous system into completely dismantling their own defensive structure for you on the mats. As they physically pitch forward into the void, you have already dropped elevation, loaded hips, and shifted angles cleanly. This places you in the absolute perfect position to deliver a fight-ending uppercut straight up the heavily compromised middle line. Alternatively, you can fire a devastating intercepting knee, effectively weaponizing their own biological survival instincts against their fight longevity. The absolute key to mastering this asynchronous release is executing the disengagement with zero visual telegraphing or movement tell. If you pull your pressure away slowly, or if your shoulders tense before disengaging, their nervous system will adapt. They will recognize the shift instantly and safely reset their balance before you can land your primary finishing weapon strike. The pressure release must be completely instantaneous, functioning exactly like a light switch being flicked off in the dark. Imagine you are a solid brick wall they are leaning on, and suddenly, without warning, the wall simply vanishes entirely. To permanently ingrain this high-level skill into your nervous system, fundamentally change how you interact with heavy bags. On the heavy bag, you must immediately stop throwing endless combinations that just rapidly bounce off the external leather. You must start practicing the heavy, lingering post, ensuring your strikes anchor into the target with true mass transfer. Throw a powerful strike. Leave the glove completely buried in the bag, deliberately driving your hips for half a second. Transfer your mass fully. Then execute a rapid micro movement to a new dominant angle before firing the next shot. You must deeply feel what it is like to use a strike as a structural anchor rather than fleeting weapon. When you transition this concept to partner drills, you absolutely need a highly disciplined training partner for real growth. They must understand the concept of progressive, intelligent resistance rather than just acting like a static target dummy holder. Start with them simply holding a static, robust high guard directly in the center of the training ring area. Feed your kinetic pressure into their forearms and have them give you very slight, unpredictable, highly varied directional feedback. They can push back slightly, lean away, or stiffen up rigidly while you close your eyes. During this drill, you must learn to read their structural balance solely through the intimate kinetic connection of gloves pressing their arms. Your brain must rapidly interpret structural integrity through raw tactile feedback, not visual cues, to survive inside pocket exchanges. In the chaotic reality of the pocket, your vision will be heavily obscured by violent collisions of your limbs. The close proximity of their chest will blind you, making tactile skill integration essential for every aspect of striking. As you retain and refine this tactile skill, it naturally integrates into your overall combat sports performance and game. Your simple feints become exponentially more dangerous because your opponent knows your touches carry highly disruptive, structure-breaking mass weight. Your clinch entries become remarkably seamless because kinetic pressure naturally bridges the treacherous gap between striking and grappling ranges safely. To truly test this under simulated combat pressure, engage in heavily restricted situational sparring with strict operational rules today. Your only permitted goal is to violently off-balance your opponent, using strikes directly to guard before scoring any shots. If you cannot demonstrably compromise their structure first, you simply do not get to pull trigger on offense. Master this precise manipulation of force transfer. Weaponize their reactions and turn their best defense into absolute tactical defeat.